Hi, my name is Hannah Jane. I'm the culture editor at the Reykjavík Grapevine, and I'm joined by Andie Sophia, our news editor. And welcome to Tips and Tricks. Do we call it Tips and Tricks Cast, or is it just Tips and Tricks?
I think it's just tips and tricks.
Okay. Well, for this iteration of Tips and Tricks, we will be talking about how to get a job in Iceland. First off, if you're a fan of our content, consider joining our High Five Club, which you can find a link to in the bio. Also, check out our shop if you're looking for fantastic holiday gifts or just a little something special for yourself. Please like, please subscribe, and if you have any suggestions on future tips and tricks videos, please send us an email at grapevine@grapevine.is with your thoughts. Okay, so how to get a job in Iceland. Do you want to start?
Sure. Like in our last video, we're kind of putting the cart before the horse a little bit.
Yeah.
Because in our last video, we covered your working rights in Iceland without mentioning how you actually get a job in the first place. So we're going to try to cover that today. As with a lot of things in Iceland, networking is a big part of this. It's a matter of who you know and how many friends you have, if you have any connections to actual Icelanders as well. That's a big part of the help. On our previous video, we already discussed, like, if you can work in Iceland. This is presuming that you have the legal right to work in Iceland, and so we go forward from here. There's a number of websites that you can visit to look for work. These include alfred.is, job.is, maur.is, which is M-A-U-R. It's the Icelandic word for ant, the insect, not your parents' sister. And, of course, Vinnumálastofnun, the Directorate of Labor, they have job listings there as well. But for the most part, it seems to me anyway, that most foreigners in Iceland find a lot of their jobs through Facebook.
Yeah, through Facebook. So I think a large percentage of foreigners in Iceland work within the service and tourism sector. And a lot of those jobs are advertised on Facebook groups. There's a fair amount of them, considering there's away from home living in Iceland, or like jobs in Iceland. It's something like that you'll see on the screen right now.
Yes. Away from home working in Iceland.
Yes, that's what it's called.
Störf í boði, which is basically jobs being offered, and many more.
And on those groups, again, you're likely to find jobs in restaurants, in hotels, at tourism companies. That said, for specifically, for certain tourism jobs that you need qualifications for, such as you want to lead diving trips, you want to be a horseback riding instructor, like something where you're going to need a certain amount of training, ice climbing.
Yes.
In that regard, I would recommend, I've never had one of those jobs. Oh, I just touched the mic. Fuck. Okay. So yes, for those specialized tourism jobs, I'd recommend you contact the companies directly. Because I believe some of them advertise on specialty websites catered to those professions. But I would contact the companies directly, asking if they're hiring. Those are seasonal jobs as well, usually. Also, for service jobs, you can go into restaurants, cafes, etc., and hand in your CV. Personally, I don't know how effective that is because I've never had that job, and my friends who work in service applied online, but of course that's always an option.
Yes.
But if you're in a more specialized industry, I guess you're not in service or you work in something else, my recommendation is there is a big problem in Iceland. You'll talk to foreigners and they'll always kind of vent about this, is that, let's say you have a foreigner with very specialized education who's worked in an industry in a long time, applying for jobs that it's not necessary to use Icelandic in, whatever. So they're essentially a great candidate and they see themselves being passed over for an Icelander with less education and less experience, and you sort of know what's going on.
Yeah.
That's a real thing, and I would prepare for that in Iceland. So if you're looking to work in a more specialized industry, again, it's all about networking and who you know. So I would do my best, if I were in that position, to meet people in that industry, to just sort of be around, meet people, get to know them, get to know the actual companies, and that would be my recommendation on the best way to get a job in more specialized industries.
Absolutely. It also bears mentioning that you can, if you live in Reykjavík, and 2/3 of the country does, you can work for the city of Reykjavík. On the city's homepage, reykjavik.is, there's a lot of social service type jobs that are on offer. I've done a number of them. You might be doing everything from working in a group home for disabled people to cleaning homes for the elderly, working in a nursing home, things of this, working in a play school as well, things of this nature. These all fall under city services. And the good thing about it is, well, first, the bad news is they don't pay really great, but it is a living-ish wage, especially if you live with somebody else. But the good part about it is because it's a city job, you can count on everything being above board. Like, you get a collective bargaining agreement. You're in a union. They abide all of your breaks and your overtime, your vacation time, your sick days. They abide all that. And if a particular manager doesn't, like, action is very swiftly taken. So it's a pretty secure job to have. It's even with the wage consideration, it's very spiritually fulfilling too.
Oh, totally.
I feel, to do this type of work, to give something back.
Oh yeah, I took care of a disabled girl for a little bit. I loved that. It's a good, like, morally job. You feel very fulfilled.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good option for people who are maybe not interested in working in the service sector, but have just moved here and are learning Icelandic. And that's also a really good way to practice your Icelandic. An extremely good way. The other recommendation the other recommendation I'd have for specialized, I don't know, by specialized work, I mean sort of not in the service sector. I guess, is that considered specialized? I really don't know the word, but you get what I mean. By, like, you want to be I don't know.
Like if you have a higher education?
Yeah, that's
you want a job in that field?
In that field, yes, that's what I mean. Another thing, what I've seen a lot of the time is companies will contact people in that field and say, oh, do you have any recommendations? We're looking for someone for this. So again, it's really all about meeting people. I hate the word networking, but
yes, it's a fact of life in our tiny country.
Absolutely. And so that's sort of, I think, the best ways to get jobs here. You have these websites you can look at. You have the city, which is a really good employer. You have Facebook groups. You can contact companies. I know these seem like obvious ones, but then trying to meet people in the industry and just sort of hang around until you get a job in it.
Yeah. And a note on applying as well. Like, most of the time, even if you wander into a restaurant and somebody tells you that they're looking for work, you're probably going to be asked to send your CV in an email. Two things I would recommend with that. First of all, get an Icelandic friend to translate a brief email statement that you can write in Icelandic with your CV attached to it. After sending it, call frequently. Like every 2-3 days, call them and ask when you can come back for an interview. Not if you're coming back for an interview, when you're coming back for an interview.
Ooh.
As with a lot of things in Iceland, being a little bit of a pain, being a little bit annoying, by our standards anyway, is actually natural practice, and it goes a long way. It shows initiative, I guess.
Yeah. And also in regards to CVs, most people, I would also potentially get someone to translate your CV into Icelandic. That will also help you.
Absolutely.
Even if you don't speak Icelandic particularly well, that'll just, I guess, put you in a certain category.
Yes.
So that's very helpful. There are people who do that for money. That is their job. They translate. You can contact one of them, which you can definitely find on foreigner Facebook groups. And if not, you can just ask your friend.
Or you can email me, and I'll send you a link to my PayPal and do it for you.
There we go. Side gigs. Yeah, so follow up by phone, everything, send in your CV. I would also highly like to push that some jobs in Iceland do take advantage, which we talked about significantly in our Working Rights thing, but I want to talk about it again a little bit, is that some jobs in Iceland, particularly service jobs and tourism jobs, do have, there are certain companies that do take advantage of foreigners and foreign work, And so I would say so you've used all these resources, you've gotten a job, I would highly push that you do not work black.
Work for cash.
Like
Do not work for cash.
that's what I mean. Do not work for cash. Do not make some bizarre agreement where you're getting like certain services in regards to work, like gift cards or free food or something like sketchy.
Absolutely.
Because you know that you are being taken advantage of. I would also say that if you're working in a place where it's mostly native Icelanders, to make sure you're getting paid the same amount as them.
Yeah.
Because that is weirdly common.
Yeah, it is weirdly common. These are the broad strokes are just, be sure you're getting a contract, be sure you're getting paid money into your bank account, and be sure that you're in an actual union. Those are good starting points. But the salary difference, that's an excellent point. Like, this is the case in a lot of different countries as well, that like discussing your salaries with your coworkers is stigmatized as embarrassing or something like that. Don't listen to that. That's propaganda to divide and conquer the working class. Talk to your coworkers.
Propaganda.
About it is though.
It is, yeah. I'm just laughing.
Because it keeps everyone in the dark, so no one knows exactly who's getting what.
Yeah.
Talk to your coworkers about what you're getting paid. If they don't want to answer, they won't answer. If they do, then they will. And you might find out that you're getting paid the same as your Icelandic coworkers, which is wonderful. And if you're not, then you can do something about it.
Absolutely. Do you want to share quickly your wage? No, I'm just kidding. Do you want to share maybe how you've gotten some of your previous jobs in Iceland?
Mm-hmm. Well, the first job I got because, as we discussed in the last video, myself being from outside of Europe, I needed to have a job waiting for me. Mm-hmm. So the family who helped me move here found me a job. And that employer needed to advertise my job in the paper for 2 weeks to ensure that no Icelander could or wanted to do the job. And then I got that.
Keep in mind that whole process of moving here from a non-EEA, EU, whatever country is vastly more complicated nowadays than it was then.
Yes.
So that would not be, just like I'm just telling anyone who's watching and is like, that sounds super easy. Vastly more complicated.
No. Yeah,
but
this was 20 years ago.
Yeah, I was going to say vastly more complicated. So yeah, you got that through family, and then later jobs, did you just go in and ask?
I was scrolling actually through the Ministry of Social Affairs, because at the time working in a group home for disabled people was a national job, not a municipal one. And that's how I found that job. And from there, the references and the previous work experience began to stack up. And, working at Parliament, I ran for office. You don't really apply for that job. Working for Grapevine, I submitted an article, and I kept submitting articles, and they kept printing me for whatever reason, and then I ended up hired.
I'm just imagining we're gonna get so many people who are just gonna start sending tons of stuff. Anyway, Andie was in Parliament, if you didn't know that.
Very briefly.
A brief stint as a politician. In terms of jobs I have been here for significantly less time, and I've spent most of it at the Grapevine. The job I had before this, I found on a student job website that does not exist anymore. So, but I just emailed back, met up with the employer, and then did it, and it was part-time. So it was pretty simple. To be honest, everything in my life, other than that, I've never applied for a job. I've just
neat
gotten everything I've applied for. I've never gotten actually.
Speaking of which, does Háskóli Íslands, do they still have job listings?
That's where I found mine. I don't think they do. I could be wrong. I keep touching the mic. Anyway, yeah, they did. I don't know how active it still is. We'd have to check, and it will appear on screen right now if it is real.
If it has.
Yeah. But if you go to Háskóli Íslands as a non-EA, EU, EFTA, or whatever, you can only work 40%. So I had a part-time position before Grapevine. So yeah, do you have anything else to add about finding a job?
Yeah, when you're on your way out, ask for a letter of recommendation before they change their mind, so that when you can sort of stack these up.
Really? Wow.
I've always done that. asked for a letter of recommendation on my way out, and they add up after a while, because when future employers ask for references, you'll have like a whole cache of references you can provide about your work experience.
Sure, especially if you leave your job in like a very like dramatic negative way. You probably want that before.
Yeah.
Don't do that. But yeah.
Before you leave your job in a dramatic fashion. I have found jobs through friends before. I was a bartender for a short while here. I was a short order cook as well. Those are both jobs that I got through friends. But, you know, they paid cash and it was a temporary gig.
You broke the law?
Yeah, I broke the law.
On that note.
Don't tell anybody.
On that note, thank you so much for watching Tips and Tricks.
Mm-hmm.
We hope this was informative. I know this had a little bit less content than past videos, but to be honest, these are the only ways you can really get a job here, we believe. Again, if you have any questions or topics for future tips and tricks, I can't say it.
Yeah.
Every single time.
It's much easier to write than to say.
Yeah. Anyway, tips and tricks. Anyway, if you have an idea, please email us at grapevine@grapevine.is. Please like and subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell button for notifications. And if you enjoyed this, please consider joining our High Five Club or our High Five Home Club, which are subscription services that allow you to help support our journalism, especially during this very difficult time. We are currently praying for a vaccine.
Yes.
Soon, and
which will make the job search much easier.
Absolutely.
Unemployment is rich in the double digits here at unemployment.
Oh yeah, please read about that on our website. Lots of news about it right now.
Yes.
Did I get everything in our ending? So we have.
I think so.
Yeah, and check out our shop.
Yes.
Again, holidays are coming up. You might need some gifts. Everything from children's books to cool sweaters to lots of candy to lots of food.
Poly merch,
very important. CDs, books. It's a very cool store and it's very well curated, and I'm really excited by all the products on offer. So thank you so much for watching.
Bye.
Bye.